When she was about 4 or 5 months old, I don't know, I just had an inkling something wasn't quite right.
I recently read this heartwarming story. It was about a guy called Vinay who was swimming Lake Windermere to fundraise for a charity that had helped his daughter Aliyana. Aliyana was diagnosed with global developmental delay and a gene deletion disorder.
Really difficult actually for me was letting go or mourning the idea of what I thought my relationship with her would be like. So when she was born, you naturally think, oh, we'll do this together and we'll do that together, and I can foresee us doing, she will play in this way, and we'll play, all these different conversations that we might have as we're growing up. And then this kind of idea of, maybe she might not talk. So there's all these conversations that I've already played up in my head that we might have are now gone, and now I'm upset about that. I'm not really upset about who she is. I'm upset that I've built up an idea. I've already made up an entire life for her, and I've lost that make-believe life. But she was never meant to be that person, and whoever she is at the moment is perfect, and she will be that person. And it's like, I thought that I was going to teach her loads of stuff, but maybe she's going to end up teaching me loads of stuff, and that's why she's the most perfect version of whoever she's meant to be, not who I want her to be.
Vinay's story is moving, the way he is pushing his mind and body to swim England's largest lake for a charity that supported him and his family through the toughest of times. But what I found even more captivating was that through the highs and the lows, they have been determined to live life to the fullest. And love is so clearly the glue that holds this beautiful family together. This is their story.
How we met.
Came to be, this beautiful family.
Oh man, so I went to Watford Boys, and then Neha went to Watford Girls, and I think it was like year 9 or year 8 or something like that.
We always lingering around the girls' school.
No, it wasn't that. I did art there actually, to be fair. Oh, so I used to go there every now and again for like art lessons and stuff like that. But we met through like a mutual friend, and I always like fancied her. Like, I proper had a crush on her for a while. And then she like kept me at arm's length for a little bit, and then 10 years later, she was mine. That's it. It's a long game, basically. What was crazy is that, so we were friends. So what we were friends at like in a social setting for a long time. And every time we went to these like parties or whatever, we would chill and chat and we'd have a laugh, and it was amazing and it was all good. And then we would just like, oh, that was a good time, but we never like followed it up or anything. And then for whatever reason, just towards the end of uni for both of us, it's like 2013, 14. I guess, right? Ish. We met up, but 2 other friends that we were meant to meet up with didn't come.
Yes, it was an accident.
Yeah. It was us 2,
I think
which I'm secretly happy about.
It was the first time we actually had a conversation. Oh, wow, because obviously when you're at a birthday or something, it's just very like, oh yeah, how have you been, whatever. But we could actually speak.
You show one side of your personality.
Level. So yeah, and then we just.
You found out you guys reconnected from that first conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
I was like, done. After that, I was like, oh, you're like so. This is the first time I've actually met you, because you always see one aspect of your personality in a social setting, and then there's all these depth and layers and stuff like that you only see when you get to like a one-on-one. So
I think it was the first time I'd ever felt so comfortable with someone, just to be completely honest and myself, without having to put this facade or. Yeah. So that it just felt really natural, I think.
Yeah. And then what happened?
And then we got married.
Yeah. It was only when we got this place and we had a second bedroom that we're kind of like, oh, okay.
It was actually when my nephew came round for a sleepover, and we got to get a bit more of an idea about, obviously not realistic ideas.
Okay, but what it will be like.
Yeah, and I think it was like a moment where we were making pancakes together and we sat on the balcony and ate breakfast, and it was just a bit... Yeah, it just felt a bit more, this is something I would want.
Oh man, like I remember the first time, so we found out here, and it was, so we had a few, I don't know if I should say this, but we had like a few, let's say, scares beforehand, where we were like, we weren't ready, but we weren't too sure or whatever, and then we had to take the test. And even though you're like in the head, like in the countdown where you're like, you've got 2 minutes. I'm like, if it's positive, act happy, like pretend to be happy, right? Like I'm saying that in the 2 minute, like while you're waiting. And even when we went to go and buy the, you know, like the pregnancy test and stuff like that, it would always be like a hide it, put it in the, like, do self checkout and not letting people. But I noticed that even when Niha said she was late, and we just like little things like, when we would buy the pregnancy test, we were proud of it. Like, we put it on the counter and let it like roll down, and talk to the cashier about, like, yeah, like, you know, we're excited to find out.
It was actually Father's Day as well.
Yeah, it was Father's Day. Yeah,
and
So you found out on Father's Day?
on Father's Day 2 years ago. Yeah,
and it was, I don't know, we weren't. I wasn't even thinking like, oh yeah, this is, because normally every time it'd be like, oh well, let's go check, and then it'd be like, okay, wait like 2 weeks. But this time, I think we were just like, oh, imagine the chances. It'd be so nice to find out on Father's Day, even if it's like 1% chance.
but then obviously it was in the thick of COVID, so I couldn't go to like the scans and stuff, which was tough. But we went to a few private ones,
And and also there was a few, even when I was pregnant with her, the pregnancy was fine, but there was a few concerns like with the growth scans. They just felt that she was not growing the rate that she should have been, so I had to keep having multiple scans. But it was really nerve-wracking going alone, and you know, you don't know if they're going to tell you something like really bad news. How would you take that if you're alone?
But you know what's crazy? I was thinking about this the other day actually, which was, we used to go through this phase of thinking, oh, we don't know, because I was reading this book, like, you know, what was it called, like First Time Dads or something like that, and there was talking about all these kind of risks that you can deal with during the pregnancy, and I think that got into my head, and then, you know, like miscarriages and like little bits, and then you got to wait for find out if your child's got Down syndrome at once, and then there's like you do the heart scan and all these other things. I remember we used to go for walks loads and then we came up with this philosophy which was so good. I think we should still apply it to today, which is just like this journey that we've got to here has been a beautiful walk. We're heading to, say, the park, and we've got an idea of what the park is, and we know what we want to do when we get to the park, etc. But if we don't get there, for example, because we're about to take a left, for example, we don't know what's really behind the corner. If there was a miscarriage, if there was something else, if there was all these complications that are probable to happen, or like there is a possibility that is an option, you can't take away the fact that what we've done from our house to where we are now has been a beautiful journey. And I remember this today, because if anything did happen, not that we're hoping that, like, obviously they're hoping that it doesn't happen, we need to remember
to look back and just be grateful.
We were grateful because we have a lot of happiness in finding out. If anything did happen, it doesn't take away that we were happy when we found out. It doesn't take away how excited I was when we went in a private scan. I heard the heartbeat for the first time, and I was like, they put it on like loudspeaker, like with some subatomic, like, you know, like some bass on it, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So even
just telling our family and friends, like in the little,
we did like really
outstanding, because we all want to see the bump, don't we? Come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Some of us haven't seen the bump in a long time, so here we go. Sheesh! Look at that.
Wow.
Defender is different parts, different aspects of her as a mother already shining through. And for me, it's just like feeling the kick. And I love her so much as well.
No.
Literally the most
lovely.
Become the most beautiful. I love this woman so much. Crazy. She's literally been an amazing mum to be as well, inshallah. And this baby, I'm so lucky that this baby's come to our life, and I'm so lucky that this baby has Niha as a mum as well. I'm doing this so I get to cry.
We kept on saying that to each other like loads back then, because we were just convinced that, you know, who knows, like, what's going to happen. Yeah.
So I didn't get to see her straight away because they took her out. She didn't cry, and then they had to check her.
Yeah.
So already I was just a bit like, I was just so out of control of the whole situation. But then as soon as Vinay went to find out the gender, because we didn't know if she was a girl or a boy.
I was like, it's a girl!
And secretly I really wanted a girl.
Yeah.
So he, like, from across the room shouted, oh, she's a girl. And I was just like, then I was just really, really happy. And from when she was about 4 or 5 months old, I don't know, I just had an inkling something wasn't wasn't quite right, in terms of maybe some of her reactions. You know, so for example, a lot of babies are able to hold their head up, and they're able to like be supported sitting by 4 or 5 months old, and she just couldn't at all. And the more other babies I saw, the more it would make me realise, okay, I don't know, I just don't think it doesn't add up to me. But then at the same time, it was a weird phase, because I was like, okay, am I worrying too much? Is it because I'm like feeling low? Am I just overthinking things? And then
it must have been a really tough time for you as well, because I think I was also the person that was like, oh, Niha, don't worry about it, like it's probably nothing. And then now knowing how that must have felt, it must have been so annoying for someone like me to be like, oh, don't worry, like
but it would make me think, okay, maybe I am worrying, like maybe I'll just like stop trying to think about this stuff. But then it'll always come back, like every day or every couple of days, and then like family or friends would be like, oh no, like it seems fine, like she seems alright. I don't know,
it's that mother's instinct, you just know.
Yeah, and then the more I read
right.
about, you know, certain aspects, the more I'd question it. And then I think I had gone on about it for about a week, and I remember being so stressed out, because I don't know, I just felt like I had no one to really listen to my crazy thoughts, like, because everybody in a loving way would be like, oh, don't worry about it, but for me it was like just kind of building up inside me. And I remember for a whole week I could feel the pain in my jaw, because I must have been just internally like just clenching so much that honestly I couldn't even eat properly because of that stress inside me. I think it was that week where I was just like, I think you were working late because you were doing your chartership, so
I was doing crazy
Vinay
hours.
would be like helping me in the daytime and then be working until about 1 a.m. at night. And then I came into his room and I was like, look, this is all the stuff that Aliyana's doing, and this is all the red flags that are coming up online. Like I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but just please just like read, or just tell me if you think I'm being too much, or I just need somebody to validate this. And then I think at that point, like, if you don't mind me sharing, like, I think you just broke down.
For me, I'm like denial for a while. Like I could like, yeah, they're fine, but she'll catch up. Like, all that these are some issues, or these are some red flags. Yeah, that's fine, but don't worry about it. Like, we'll see what happens in a few months. Yeah. And I think when you start reading about these are the early signs of, say, cerebral palsy, and then you're looking at Aliyana and you're thinking, actually,
they're very similar. Yeah,
there are a lot that are or like there's like so many different.
It could have been anything.
It could have been anything, but there's so many different like things that you can look at, and you're like, oh, these are the red flags you should be looking out for. I think as soon as you start seeing it in black and white, you're like, I think I was then like, oh my gosh, this
maybe is something to think about.
Yeah, and that was a hard. I was super stressed out from work anyway, and then I think that was like on top of it, which was really tough. And then I think that was like a nice moment for you, because I think like you were like, oh, finally, shared the load.
A release of tension, because I was like, oh, great. It's not just like in my head then.
Oh, it's the bees. Cat's not here. Where's the butterfly? Yeah, and the tree? Where's the tree? There's a tree. Is there another tree?
I think throughout this whole journey, we've learned how both of us deal with things. And it's, I mean, we haven't got it to a T, but I think we understand each other more, and what we need a bit more.
It's definitely tested our marriage in like in a good way, I guess, because all the little petty fights you have when you first get married, like, oh, you left the sink the sponge in the sink or whatever, like all these fights that you have.
I mean, you still do that.
All these little petty fights, that was like exactly the prime thing that was on this, like, all these little petty fights you have, you realise, oh, they're like really good, because when we came down to this, which was something's wrong with my daughter, and that it's like a personal fight, and then that's when you're like, okay, cool, like we've learned how to fight, we learned how to deal with each other's emotions a little bit, so like we can just about survive this moment where it's super turbulent for us.
So global developmental delay, it's not really a diagnosis, it's kind of an umbrella term of if a child is not meeting two or more areas of development. So I think it's like gross motor skills, fine motor, like social and play and communication. I can't remember the last one, to be honest. But yeah, so that's an umbrella term, and they kind of use that term until the child is a bit older, and then if they still have difficulties following that, then they change the term to like a learning disability. But a child can kind of catch up, so that's why they hold on to that term and then change it later on. The first thing that we found out about was her hypotonia, so the low muscle tone, and that was because she couldn't hold her head up, and she struggled meeting her milestones. And the low muscle tone, so imagine where her abs would be, she couldn't tense those muscles, so trying to work on those skills that you need to sit, it's a lot harder for her, and it takes more energy to even know where to go. So it's more like we have to teach her how to do it.
Journey was from going to specialists and stuff, and I feel like that's something a lot of people can relate to, because for you it's like your whole world and then for them it's like a number, like,
yeah,
and it's like you can feel that energy of like they're so detached.
Yeah.
So like tell me like more about that.
Oh gosh, it's really hard because you're trying to fight for your family. It's like that you're a lioness and this is my little cub, and I need to be this like really strong person, and you know I'm like even going through those moments where, you know, am I being too much, or all of these like different concerns in my head, and then you're presenting your case to someone on the phone who doesn't know about you, doesn't know how Aliyana is, doesn't know her day-to-day struggles, and you have to kind of really fight for them to see you, if that makes sense sometimes. So I remember even with the first I called the midwifery helpline or something, the healthcare visitors, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, maybe we'll have a check with her on her 6-month checkup. And then I got to the 6-month checkup and I was like expecting, like, you know, really hopeful, like, okay, someone's gonna specifically check for Aliyana. And they were like, no, we don't do that service, or no one told us about this kind of thing. And I'm just sitting there like, I've been waiting for this for like 2 months. And that kind of like, now what? Now what do I go to? What do I do? Like, how do I even navigate this? Like, there's no one to really kind of talk it through. And, you know, some of I remember the healthcare visitor was like, oh, she seems fine, I've seen worse. And I'm just like, but that doesn't help. Like, I feel like there is still some, I don't know, it was again like feeling that I wasn't being heard.
The more information you have, the less alone you feel, because as soon as you came home, you joined that Facebook group.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just you're seeing all these other families that are going through, like, of the same deletion at different ages, and you can see, you know, some of them are not speaking fine, some of them are not walking fine, but some of them are. So we had no idea if that was a possibility, or even things like, because we were worried about stuff like the degenerative
nature of some diagnoses.
So
like,
that they're as healthy as they will ever be now, and then as they get to like 15 years old, they'll slowly, progressively get worse. So there's like little things like, okay, we know a little bit more about what we're kind of going to experience with Aliyana, and the fact that we've got. But
even
other people,
then, I guess, you know, life, you don't really.
You never know. Obviously,
yeah, you
what's
don't
gonna
know
happen,
anything that's going to happen. But I guess we just feel it's crazy. Like the power of social media now, it's in this sense, it's amazing because you can connect with people worldwide who you have never met before, but you feel closer than, you know, to your family and friends in like this sense.
Because you connect with them quite well over the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you've gone through the same worries and the same kind of appointments, and even, you know, dealing with the comments that sometimes people can give unknowingly that might affect you. For example, you know, people might say, oh, you know, your daughter's not walking yet or talking, or if you tell people they're her age, sometimes you get this like look of, okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a nappy in? Good job. Did you get a wet nappy? Good job. We did have fun today, didn't we?
I think that if anything, it's actually pushed us to live life a little bit more because that people, you know, we're like, oh, we don't know if she's going to walk. It's like, well, if she's not going to walk, then she's definitely going to, you know, we're going to do as much as we can to give her this life that will be even more than walking. Do you know what I mean? So I think that kind of concept made us a little bit more, I'd say fearless out of this idea of we want her to not be limited. Just this whole like idea of disability, we've always hated that word because it was like we want her to experience everything regardless. So even when we went snowboarding with her, and she's a baby, so it's a lot easier to do stuff with her because she's a lot easier to like hold, and you know, you could move her around, and you know, so even when we went snowboarding with her, we were still looking at these random wheelchair with skis on it, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, if anything happens, we'll still take a snowboarding, we'll still take a skier.
We were like, oh, okay, this is available.
It's a shame that she's going to be a skier, but she's going to be so we'll still go skiing with her.
Sorry, Barbara.
Even this swim and stuff like that, there's like people that haven't got limbs and they're still doing crazy swims, and we're like, okay, let's surround ourselves with those kind of people, or like those kind of media or kind of stuff like that. And we're thinking, this isn't a disability, this is this ability. She's going to have an ability that will make her even more amazing because she's still going to live life. We've decided that she's still going to have an amazing life, whatever she wants. She might be really into chess or whatever, it doesn't have to be physical, but she's still going to live it. We've decided, and I think we wouldn't have consciously thought that if she just like kind of like went off in the exact trajectory that we thought she was going to go in from birth. And it's just like on every level, because it's even with you, the stuff that the things that you were talking about before, about you've become a lot more assertive, you've become so much stronger. That's only because...
It's only because of this journey. With the charity that she goes to, they do other things for the moms and like the dads, different social things, just to help you bond and relate to other parents. And they did a mum's mindfulness facial, which was really nice because you got to learn kind of techniques to use in your everyday life to kind of help with relaxation. And you know, there's awkward things when you don't know anyone in the room and you're kind of like, oh, hi, I'm from here, and blah, blah, blah. So after about 5 minutes of that, we sat down and I was just like, I just went in. And then I was
you opened up hard, didn't you?
Yeah, it was, you know, that awkward silence, and I was like, so how do you guys deal with the really low days? Like, tell me about that. because I think everyone else has kind of had children who are about 2 years and upwards, and we're still very early days, and I was just like, I just want help to navigate, because yeah, we're really positive about this, but you do, it's natural to have your low days, and I was just I just kind of wanted help with finding out how to kind of bring myself back up without staying in it for too long.
Right.
Just, you know, any advice or because these mums have been going through it for a long time, and they're probably the best to ask, you know, how they're managing it, and people just opened up so much and so quickly. So I don't know, I feel like she's made me a new woman. She really has changed me for the better, I think.
We spent some time talking about mental health. Nihal opens up about how she dealt with her mental health during this period.
I think initially those low points were for longer periods, and I was really struggling, you know, how to get myself out of it, and I was just feeling overwhelmed because I just felt like everything was going on, and I just felt so out of control. So I kind of called the Hertfordshire mental health line. I can't remember the exact title of their department, but I just explained, you know, this is what I'm struggling with, and you know, is there any way you can support me? So they came back to me and they said, you know, we have a postnatal group for mums going through kind of CBT techniques. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, you know, I really want some help with this. So that was really helpful at the time. And then kind of, you know, having more support around me, like joining all these groups with families who were going through similar things, I found that quite helpful. And then being honest and open about things, I found that helpful because then I wasn't alone in my thoughts. Right. I felt like, okay, someone else, I've kind of let it out. And then in that way, it's that release, which is quite therapeutic in its own way. But I found it more draining to keep it in because, you know, when people ask how things are going and you just, for me, I realised, you know, just by saying, yeah, everything's fine when I know it's not, I found that would drain me even more because then I'd go home and think, well, you know what, everything's not fine. Yeah, and then, you know, trying to keep up the appearance of, that conversation. Yeah, I found it really tiring to have that again and again. And then I think one day I just thought, you know, let me just try it out and just say what's actually on my mind. And yeah, it's just like opened up this whole new world of just letting it go. But then, yeah, so with the more I opened up, the more support I realised I could get. And even now, recently, there's this scheme at work where you can talk to someone, and sometimes it's nice because a lot of people mean all well and good and have been so supportive, but sometimes you just need to go somewhere where the person is not linked to you at all, doesn't know you, so because you're not looking sometimes for advice, you just want someone to really listen and just let it out, if that makes sense. So yeah, I found that quite helpful, and there's some kind of avenues maybe to go through counselling and really deal with the emotional side of the journey. I think that might be helpful. I don't know, but I think therapy is good, really, if that's something that works for you.
Vinay initially struggled to articulate his feelings. I found various studies online that suggested that men have a harder time opening up about their mental health, with one study finding that 40% of men polled have never spoken to anyone about their mental health.
I think what's really helped me is I don't know how I feel like I probably bottle stuff up a lot more than you, but I feel like because Nihal's been more like, it's visually, you can see that she's upset, like she expresses it to, even between us. I feel like because of that, I will not do it as much. Not in a way I wouldn't do it as much, but I think I like then go into survival mode of like, okay, how can we help Nihal's struggling, like how can we help Nihal with this kind of thing. I don't really know what it is that I think. I don't know. I don't really know. I definitely feel like the I don't know. I feel like, do you know what? I think this. I don't even know. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to articulate what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to think, but.
Listen to the animals, birds and the bees. We love you, sweet Baba. We love you, Sai Baba. Don't we? Mwah.
I've never been the type of person to want to talk about the negative side of things, because I feel like if I go down that wormhole, I will just sit in it. Whereas I feel like you're a product of whatever you're exposed to. So if I talk about it in a positive way, then I will naturally start to think of it in a positive way, even if I don't mean it, even if I'm faking it, or I'm just saying like, oh, you know, these are you know, we're learning from it or whatever. I still feel like if I just recite that to myself constantly, I will eventually believe it. So I think that has been my way of doing it, which is maybe a little bit. I don't know. Maybe someone might say like, "Oh, you're just bottling everything up and you're just sitting there somewhere dormant." But I don't know if it is. I feel like I need to be in a good place to be able to talk about the negative things, and then when I'm in a good place to talk about the negative things are not as bad. Whereas when I'm going just through the negative things, that's when I completely shut off. And then little things like, for me, will be really helpful, just isolation. So if I might need some time just to process something or clear my mind. So I actually feel like this open water swimming I've only got into this year in a big way. That's really helped me. There's like loads of things. Like I think people going through depression normally come to the lake as well. And there's a whole idea of cold water therapy, and there's the whole idea of being in nature. And I think just the fact that I'll be there for 2 hours swimming in my own thoughts will make me address, and you're just bored out your brain swimming because you're just blackness. There's no visual stimulation or hearing or touch or anything. You're just literally like completely in your own thoughts. It's a form of meditation because you're just addressing whatever negativity you're going, or whatever's in your mind, basically just allowing it to explore that with no stimulation. And I think by the end of that, it's come out and I feel a lot better from it. So I think, I don't know, maybe therapy would help me, but I've never...
But that's your form of therapy.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to approach it. Everyone's got their own thing, but it's finding that thing that helps you.
Yeah, I think maybe I shouldn't say this because I want to tear people, but I think I wouldn't naturally be attracted to the idea of, not the idea, I don't think for my personality or the way of dealing things would, talking to someone else, this is the hardships I'm going through, X, Y, and Z, I don't think I can't imagine myself coming out of that conversation feeling like better than I came into it. Whereas if I went for a swim,
but
I'd definitely come back better, and then I'll talk to someone about it and like, oh, this is the negative things I was feeling before.
Yeah.
I'm in a safe space. I'm in a place of confidence to talk about it now. Do you know what I mean?
So it sounds like you don't like that vulnerability, like.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Maybe that's probably what it is. Maybe I don't want to feel vulnerable to someone.
But also, your idea of therapy is just talking about the negative things. Like, it's addressing everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess this conversation is a form of therapy. I've like cried while swimming, like I've like fully, like I've had to take my goggles off because there's like tears in it. Wow. Yeah, so like there's definitely something that I wouldn't release out here that I can release in the lake. We've always seen Aliyana as perfect, like everything about her is perfect. So when we found out about these delays, I never thought, oh, she's not perfect anymore. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, so we've always had this idea like she's the most perfect version of whoever she's meant to be. She was meant to be this person, and that person is perfect. So when it was like she will continue to be the most perfect version of whoever she was meant to be, that was just kind of like a natural thing. What was really difficult actually for me was letting go or mourning the idea of what I thought my relationship with her would be like. So when she was born, you naturally think, oh, you know, we'll do this together and we'll do that together, and I can foresee us doing you know, I'll read, you know, we'll play in this way, and we'll play, or, you know, all these different conversations that we might have as we're growing up, and then this kind of idea of, well, maybe she might not talk. So there's all these conversations that I've already played up in my head that we might have are now gone, and now I'm upset about that. I'm not really upset about who she is. I'm upset that I've built up an idea. I've already made up an entire life for her, and I've lost that make-believe life. But she was never meant to be that person, and whoever she is at the moment is perfect, and she will be that person. And it's like, I thought that I was going to teach her loads of stuff, but maybe she's going to end up teaching me loads of stuff, and that's why she's the most perfect version of whoever she's meant to be, not who I want her to be.
Yeah, I think it's taught us a big lesson about us kind of trying to raise her in general, because a lot of it is, you know, we're upset because of our ideas, not and you know, our thoughts about, you know, this daughter that we imagined about.
Give me cuddles. Thank you. Hey, Aliyana, do we love each other today? Aliyana, do we love each other today? We do. Give me cuddles. Yeah, that's a nice cuddle on the face. Yes, because we do love each other today. Don't we? Mama. Aliyana, do you love each other today? Of course. Lol. Like every day. Give me cuddles. Give me cuddles. Nice cuddles. Thank you. We're best friends.
Me and my friend always talk about this and laugh about it, which is whenever something really bad's happening to us, like, and it might not be like as serious as like your daughter's health, but if it's something quite trivial or something that's a bit annoying that's happening to you, I just think, oh man, this is what whenever they make the movie of our life, this will be like the reason why it becomes like #1 gross movie or like the highest box office, because all these negative things happen to you and you learn from it. It's the hero's journey kind of mindset. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's kind of like, even with this, you learn it from like even doing physio with Aliyana. She'll be struggling so much. Like today she was doing okay, but sometimes she's like really like tired, but you know she's got a little bit more fight in her, so you can sense it that she's still interested in trying to get to that thing or trying to pick herself up, but she's really in discomfort, and you're thinking, this is what's making you a better person. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like we're putting her in that discomfort because we want her to become a better person, and I feel like we have to look at it and ourselves in that same way. Like, we're in this place of discomfort sometimes, but hopefully it will make us a better version of ourselves in the future, where we can't really relate to it.
Auntie Florence.
Hi. Hey.
Vinay has expressed his gratitude to me for making this documentary. He said that he will love it to be a gift for Aliyana, so that when she gets older, she can see a snippet of their journey. So I asked them, what would they say to a future Aliyana?
I would say that we love you, we support you for anything you do, and would always be here for you.
Yeah, that's nice.
And you make us so happy.
We do love you. Yes, and Auntie Florence loves you as well.
Yeah.
I think I would say that you've made us like so much better than we ever thought we would ever be.
Yeah.
We were so convinced that as a baby at your age, we would be the ones taking care of you and making you stronger, or trying to make you like build character within you, but it's been literally the opposite. Isn't it, Aliyana? Don't be shy, we're talking about you.
You've definitely taken care of us, Aliyana.
Yeah, and we just love you, Aliyani. We do love you today.
Just continue being the cutie person you are. And that's all you need to do.
Perfect version of whoever you're meant to be. I can't wait to find out. We've got front row seats.
Aliyana, we did it! As a team, we did it. We did it as a team actually. Sai, Aaron, and Alex. We all did it together, and then the whole people that were on the land as well, like you guys, everyone that came along and supported, gave food, gave encouragement, gave supportive words, everyone that sent messages. Thank you so much, everyone. We love you. And also, like the fact that we've done this for Play Schools is a charity that's really helped our family out. Like Play Schools has made us feel strong when we were feeling so weak in a really difficult time of our lives. But they've really helped us. It makes us so happy, so honoured to be able to contribute in such a small way to such a big cause. This swim is just a platform to do all this greatness that we've created, and it applies to every single person that's donated, and every single person that's given like supporting messages, supporting words, just reaching out in different ways, and we were basically going to help other families that, like the way that their places helped us, and that means a lot to us that we were able to give back in that way. And it's all because of you, all because of you, because you inspired me, Aliyana. I love you so much, and I love you too.